So for my PowerPoint, I decided to talk about Eric Erickson's 8 stages of development. We learned about that in this class. My name's Elijah Smith. So the introduction: Eric Anderson. He was born in 1902. He passed away in 1994. He was a theorist and a psychoanalysis. He developed an 8 stage model on social development from birth to death. Eric theorized that each stage involved a crisis or conflict, and that the way in which a person overcomes this crisis determines how they will socially interact with the other environment. And now I'm going to list those 8 stages. Starting off, we got stage 1, which is trust versus mistrust, which occurs birth to 1 year old. And this stage starts at birth and lasts for the first year of life. During this stage, trust is established if comfort, food, and warmth are provided. On the other hand, equally important is that emotional needs are met. Trust of oneself is also key in building self-esteem. However, if this does not happen, it sets up a foundation of mistrust in future relationships. This stage establishes the way an infant sees the world as well as a base for their personality. Although this stage does not last long, it is very important foundation. It is a very important foundation to all future stages. And then going on to stage 2, we got autonomy versus shame and doubt. This one occurs from 1 year to 2 year old. And in this stage, toddlers start to express their own independence and try to have more control over their choices and environment around them. This stage is important for the development of self-confidence, self-actualization, and the beginning of independence. The main thing parents can do to help create a positive outcome in this stage is encourage their toddlers to want to use a toilet, get dressed independently, and to feed themselves in a structured environment. If a toddler is not allowed or discouraged to do these things on their own, then the negative outcome would be a feeling of self-doubt and their abilities to manage the world on their own terms. And going on, we got stage 3, initiative versus guilt. This occurs in kids 3 years to 5 years old. And during this stage, children assert themselves into the world more by having more social interactions with other children. Children direct their own way of interacting with others through play and made-up stories. The children mimic interactions that they have observed in their own environment, and through their imagination that they are able to control the storyline in whatever direction they choose. Initiative means to take charge and display a leadership role. This is a positive outcome from this stage and is created by encouraging creative thinking and allow this type of play as long as no one is in danger. The negative outcome of this stage is feeling embarrassed, guilty, or that they are a bad child. Going on to stage 4. Stage 4 is industry versus inferiority. This one is between kids 6 to 12 years old. And during this stage, children explore social situations beyond their family. This is also the time when children are judged by their peers and their differences become more pronounced. The definition of industry is the ability for a child to socialize with their peers regardless of criticism. However, inferiority is when children stop socializing with their peers due to lack of confidence, maybe because they got bullied or, all those type of things that lead into kids, being quiet, being distant, and not really being as social as the other kids would be. And then the next stage is stage 5, which is identity versus identity confusion. This happens in teenagers 13 years old to 18 years old. And during this stage, teens actually acquire their ego identity or conscious self, a sense of self. A positive outcome is self-confidence, while a negative outcome is low self-esteem. Contributions to a strong individual identity are family, friends, teachers, teammates, and outside influences. So that's like things that can help a kid during this stage. Um, can help a kid like really find out who they are is contribution from these type of things. Like, it could be like a coach or somebody checking up on them or just being a positive role model for them. And then stage 6 is intimacy versus isolation. This happens in 19-year-olds all the way up to 45 years old. And this stage involves the hardships that young adults face as they try to connect and develop meaningful relationships. As kids become adults, they look for lifelong friends instead of just any friends. Also, they seek more intimate relationships as opposed to a short-term relationship. As young adults begin a career, professional connections become more important as well. And success in this stage is dependent on the positive outcomes of previous stages. It may be necessary for someone to seek help if they are unable to achieve intimate relationships. And then going on to stage 7, we have generativity versus stagnation. This is from 46 years old to 65 years old. Generativity is creating new possibilities and opportunities. This stage involves continued growth of friendships, career opportunities, and giving back to the community. Erickson theorized that if adults don't continue to grow, they become stagnant. He also believed that at this stage of life, people have a responsibility to give back or invest in others. On the other hand, stagnation is a feeling of being stuck. This feeling is multi-faced as it can be feeling stuck emotionally, in relationships, in a physical location, or in a dead-end career. Some contributors to stagnation are an unwillingness to progress socially. Oh, excuse me. Some contributions to stagnate are unwillingness to progress socially, will not give back to the community, a fear of change, and or a lack of self-esteem. And then going on to stage 8, we have integrity versus despair. And this is 66 years to death. This stage is when people question if they have lived a purposeful life. Integrity is when someone can look back on their life with a feeling of accomplishment. Despair, on the other hand, is a feeling of regret, dissatisfaction with the life one has lived. This stage usually begins with a major life change, like retirement or a loss of someone close, like a peer or a spouse. Dealing with feelings of morality can be difficult and unsettling. And then to conclude, Erik Erikson asserted that personality characteristics happen in predetermined order in 8 stages of psychosocial development, starting with infancy and ending with death. The success or failure in each stage determines the success or failure of the next stage. These stages can make or break the way a person views themselves in their community and the world. And that's it for my presentation. Thank you.